Hello, my name is Chanel Asfor, and I'm a senior team lead for our Breeze Rent Cafe teams. I'm here with three property management pros who understand how to use marketing to unlock business growth. I know the session of the title says we're going to share 5 marketing tips, but I believe that we're going to gain so much more out of this discussion. Let's get started with introductions. Mandy, would you like to go first?
Absolutely. Thank you for the introduction, Chanel. Pleasure to be
Yeah.
here. My name is Mandy Yannetti. I work with Woodard Development and Ascent Real Estate Advisors in Dayton, Ohio. We currently have roughly 12 buildings downtown around the Dayton, Ohio area, and we are in production with our first residential and commercial building that is now 50 units in historic adaptive reuse in Sydney, Ohio.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Rosa?
Hi, everyone. I'm Rosa Ordex. I'm a community manager for a homeowner association located in Roselle, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. And I manage 459 single family and townhomes. And, we just started with Yardi not that long ago and built our website with Yardi. And we're very excited, and it's proven to be a great marketing tool so far.
Awesome. Thank you. And Megan?
Yeah, thank you for having me on the panel, and nice to meet you, ladies. I am Megan Orser. I am with Smart Moves Management. We're an LLC here in mid-Michigan. We specialize in managing small properties, single-family homes, as well as commercial units. And a unique feature about us is most of our residential, in fact, I believe all, were built prior to the 1900s.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you all. You guys have such a diverse portfolio, and I think this conversation is going to be really exciting. So, welcome. We'll go ahead and jump into our first question here. So, understanding your customer is really important in this industry. I'm curious, what resources have you used to get to know your customers, and how have you applied that information to develop your marketing strategy? Megan, would you like to go first?
Sure, and thank you, Chanel. So a lot of my marketing and expertise is focused on marketing to the resident for the property, but I believe a lot of the things that we use are things that you could still use to attract other clients in other sectors. So two of my favorite tools that are actually free tools, my first one is Esri, and that's ESRI. There is a hidden link on there where you can do a zip code lookup by essentially putting in a zip code in an area. It will give you some really good marketing data. And when I say marketing data, it's not a lot of statistics and things that you have to crunch numbers and do math. I stay away from that. It is pretty much for the everyday person where you can just get some really good insight. So for example, we were working with a client in Battle Creek, Michigan, and we did an Esri study and found that we had a large concentration of newly divorced single parents. And so that gave us a lot of good insights. So we started targeting daycares. And what we found that they need at daycares is that kids bring typically wet or sticky things or other things home almost every day from daycare and need something to carry that in. So we found plastic at the time. Maybe you get something a little bit more earth friendly, but bright yellow plastic bags with a handle on it, and then red printing that said River Oaks, Battle Creek's only gated community. The property had a lot of reputation issues, and so the owner decided to put a gate around the property, and that was what we were really hitting home on our hook. What was unique is when we were in Battle Creek over Halloween, we were actually doing some marketing, and we saw a lot of little trick-or-treaters that were all carrying the yellow bag with the red printing. And so we knew we had really hit a home run on that one. But some other insights that we found, I was doing a study on another property, and we found that we had a lot of our people in the demographic drove Kias and drove Hyundais. And so that was a good indication of where we could have some cross marketing or some synergy with those dealerships, but also gave us some indication that we have a lot of folks that might be doing some credit rebuilding or have gone through things like bankruptcies, divorce. And so that allowed us to adjust or adapt or even attract the right customer. And then lastly, I would say another win where we worked with Claritas. which is very similar to Esri. They actually pull their data from Esri, just they digest it a little bit easier. I had found in one zip code that a lot of our patrons that lived there went to the movies. It said that's where they spent their extra income. And so we had a movie theater that had contacted us and asked us to do advertising. And by seeing that data and seeing that this was a good fit for our market, we felt more comfortable with that spend in advertising with the movie theaters. So Claritas and Esri have been a great tool to really help you pull that thread and make sure you're, those gut feelings that you're right on the right track.
That's great. Thank you. I love how much you dove into the data and, targeted the kindergarten or the daycares and the local car dealership. So that's amazing. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for sharing. Mandy, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chanel. So for example, we have in downtown Dayton, we have two buildings that are historic. They are early 1900s builds. One was actually being built when the floods hit with the Great Canals back in 1913. So the basement was a little, flooded, but the top floors hadn't really taken shape yet. So it all kind of worked out in the end. But the Oregon district is actually the oldest historic district in Dayton, Ohio. So understanding the clientele for these two particular buildings, which are actually right next to each other, was kind of just, in addition to pulling, we use Sites USA. It's a Regis company. They're based out of Phoenix, Arizona, and they pull a ton of different demographics. So we always pull your demographics, and we start with them and we start diving deeper then. So it was as much as really getting involved with like the Oregon District Committee. They have a group that they meet every month, and it is a lot of business owners because it's a very walkable district. So understanding the business owners, the types of business that are down there, and the types of people who frequent the area was really key in figuring out the demographics for those two buildings. It's not, you're not necessarily looking for your young professionals, but yet you have college students. Some of them are med school students that are from out of state. Some of them are actual transfers from the military. We deal with a lot of clientele from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So knowing your demographic was a big hit for the Oregon District properties. Like I said, we kind of just dove in with the business associations as well to see, what events that they were having. They block off 5th Street from like April through the end of October on Fridays through the weekends, as both buildings are located within the Dora District, which is their designated outdoor refreshment area. So you can walk around, but there's plenty of like bars and restaurants around too. So knowing that demographic, the clientele, the artsiness of the district, a lot of musicians and things like that, they all tend to love these two buildings. So that made it really just kind of nice. And then knowing the history of your properties as well, especially if it's a new build or if it's a historic property, it really helps to tell that story of that particular building. So it helps you sell your product a little easier. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then in Sydney, which is our more recent, we're still in the build for that actually. So we're hoping to open that building around the 1st of September. And we actually got together with the Chamber of Commerce up there, which was fantastic, and met with them. And then that way we have access to other chamber members, and they have about 300 local businesses. Sydney is huge on manufacturing, but their downtown is kind of small. And everything is kind of located right around what they call the courthouse, or they call it Court Square. So you've got your local businesses downtown, but you have a ton of Midwest manufacturing on the outskirts of Sydney. So we got together with them, and then we're introduced also to the Chamber of Commerce has what they call a Young Professionals program. So they hooked us up with them, and it's really nice because that is one of our core demographics for Sydney is the young professionals group. This is more of an urban building in a rural area and a lot of 1 bedrooms. So they were actually kind of walking by, and if you've lived in Sydney or you're from around the Sydney, Ohio area, then you know the Ohio building and the history of it, and it being what it was before and then what it's going to be now. So just kind of knowing and understanding those and being able to work with your different, your health systems that are in the area, as well as manufacturers also that may be looking to do some corporate leasing. And then getting your word out too for the 2 commercial spaces on the first floor for businesses, whether they're local or regional, because they're a little small space, but it works. So just getting in there and understanding and being a part of community events, downtown and within the group also, and then reaching out to your core demographics and like figuring out what they like and where they hang out and what they like to do really helps to kind of drive that home.
Yeah, that's great. You really understand your demographics, but you also understand your buildings and your histories and what drive people to them. So it's amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Rosa, would you like to go?
Absolutely. Well, we are very fortunate that our community basically markets itself. And of course, that being said, you still have to be aware of what your prospective demographic is and how to appeal to them. We're very popular because we offer so much in the way of amenities. We have 2 outdoor swimming pools, an indoor swimming pool. We have a gym, saunas, golf course. So it's very popular, but our consumer perspective, home buyers and brokers, basically do the legwork and give us the feedback that we in turn have used to promote that on our website. Our consumer, again, who we're marketing to, is someone who's looking to make a long-term investment. They're purchasing a home as opposed to the multifamily sector. So I would say the stakes are a little higher for us because people know what they want. And the number one item that they're looking for is information. They want to know as much as they can about the community because of that reason. So our focus on our marketing efforts is providing that information in a platform that's, number one, easy to navigate, glossy, and Yardi checks all the boxes, thankfully, branded, so that we do come across and offer that presence, which I think the number one way we market our community is, of course, online. People do come by and visit and tour the community, but they do their legwork ahead of time. And, if they see what they like, then they'll take the next steps and contact their broker and put in an offer. Our own homeowners are also a great source because we just recently did a survey. So the homeowners pretty much dictate what they think should be the focal points at our community. And we listen to that. And again, we take that and showcase it on our website, again, because that's typically what the average consumer is looking for. So that is basically it's kind of like different from multifamily, but not really that much. Some of the elements or how we go about our marketing is a little different. We really don't do a lot in the way of outreach because we don't need to, thankfully. Again, it markets itself, but how we present ourselves online and our product, which is the community itself, and the amenities, is critical to attracting the buyer that will hopefully make this community their home.
That's great. Even being an HOA, you still really understand your community and what they're looking for in advertising on your website. So it's fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate you guys sharing your insight on how you gather and apply customer data to shape your marketing strategies. It's clear that you really understand your customer base, and that's what's crucial in this industry. So thank you. We'll go ahead and move on to our next question here. Can you share some of your marketing strategies that you and your company like to practice? Mandy, would you like to go?
Absolutely. So we put a big emphasis, of course, on our company website and our property websites. Focus a lot on SEO for those, which are number one. You've got to have your right keywords in. There's no better way to track your traffic than with your analytics from your websites, because that's what people are looking at. They see, your website as the face of your property and or your company. Any paid Google search ads that like to pop up. We love doing those. Gives us a nice little core. So if we want to, break that down into, a certain demographic, we can do that. A certain zip code, we can do that. We geofence or geo-target also with cross platforms. So that really helps. We have a lot of prospects, especially with Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. It's the largest employer in the state of Ohio with 37,000 employees, that are coming in or being transferred from around the world. And if they can't be here and they would like to tour, a unit, or if they're interested in commercial space and they can't be here in person, we are always happy to, whether we FaceTime or we set up a Zoom call, and we'll go in and we will walk them around and show them, the virtual tour, and everything like that, so they can get a feel for what it's like. They can hear the sounds and the noises in the space when you're there. And then we also like to pay attention, because everybody's doing it these days too, online reviews and reputation management, whether it's on Yelp or, your Google business profile, or any profiles from Bing to any other search engines. They're important to every business, and no, every comment may not be the best comment. You may not get a 5-star review every time, but that's what we strive for. And we strive to find out if there is a bad review or something that someone has posted, then, what can we do to improve? What, could have made this situation better? We love to still, for our commercial properties, more so than our residential units, we do marketing brochures. I have a background in graphic design, so work with those a lot, and they like to be able to still walk away with something in their hand, maybe whether it's a floor plan or an entire brochure about the particular space that they are looking for. We find that those come in big handy, and especially like with the floor plans, because we can blow those up on our plotter as well and take them if they need it for any planning purposes on their end. So they've got it tangible. And then everything's, of course, always online between all the social sites from commercial and residential sites, apartments.com and Rent Cafe, of course. Can't forget that one because we use it daily. But then we'll try some other, local stuff too. There's, of course, the Nextdoor app. There is, Zillow is, of course, huge, Redfin, and all the others that work with it as well. And then, of course, commercial side, you've got LoopNet and Crexi too. So we blast it everywhere and utilize everything.
Yeah, that's great. It sounds like you definitely utilize SEO and ILS, and depending if it's residential or commercial, maybe utilizing like actual flyers to give out, or mostly marketing online. That's great. Thank you. Rosa, how about you? What marketing strategies do you and your company use?
Well, it's not so much what we have used in the past, but I'm excited about what we're planning on doing in the near future. And one of the things that we are doing through our website is we are going to actually be interviewing some of our current homeowners and doing online videos, little vignettes about their experiences, because we feel that nothing can take the place of that. It's real. It's, down to earth, and we are fortunate that some of our homeowners have lived there since the community opened back in the 70s, which is mind-blowing that someone's lived there for 40 years. But it speaks again to the longevity. It speaks volumes as far as what our average consumer is looking for. They're looking to make this their home. So our focus is again on conveying that through our website. And again, I think that the best way to do that is for us to give a prospective buyer a glimpse into what our community is like. And those little videos are going to showcase some of our amenities, rather than just looking at a flat picture, or we have a great photo gallery, but we want to bring it to life. And so the video, that's something that we've looked into and are going to hopefully be producing very soon here. And we're excited about it because I think it's something unique. And you always want to have that uniqueness when you're marketing. You want to set yourself apart from your competition. I wouldn't
Yeah.
say that we really have to work hard at that because we already know from doing our research what other HOAs in the area charge as far as their assessments. We know we're confident. We're confident that we have a great product. For us, it's just a matter of us showcasing it in such a way that we can convey that message again to the consumer.
That's great. And I think maybe a lot of our audience they do not know that we can add videos to their Rent Cafe websites, and we can definitely help with that. And I know that brings a lot of more foot traffic to sites because people are more inclined to click on a video than maybe read a long paragraph. Along with like SEO tags, we can help add that. We can help add Google Analytics to your websites as well. So I'm glad everyone's kind of using a little bit of something. So that's amazing. Thank you. And Megan, how about you?
Well, I'm definitely going to be adding video
Great.
now to my website. So made a note of that. But we love to do any marketing, and I think echoing what Rosa and Mandy have said in previous comments is understanding your customer, knowing that market and then doing what works for there. So we have also tried to stand apart in the Mid-Michigan area where we manage our residential portfolio. It is a blue collar farming community. And when we entered that market, it was very typical for property owners and operators to accept cash. There's just not a lot of, for lack of a better term, sophistication. And when we came in, we were like, let's do QR codes and self-guided tours, and really helped us set ourselves apart from our competitors. But we actually just took over a 10-unit property called The Villages earlier this month. And looking at the studies and looking at the foot traffic, it is right on a major thoroughfare of a highway. And so we're actually going back old school with this one and going back to drive-by signs. And I have been in leasing since 1996. We in marketing never believed that drive-by existed, but this is a true case where drive-by is going to be a good lead source just by the number of sheer traffic that goes by in the demographic. Another one for Owasso, Michigan is where we're at. We found a lot of success on Facebook Marketplace. Now we found that it doesn't work in every market. It's definitely not a cookie cutter approach, but specifically for that demographic and looking at the social media trends, there's a lot of activity and community group in that Mid-Michigan area that we have been able to really keep our occupancy up and get some of that trustworthy as well. People are familiar with the area, so we're really marketing to more of a warm lead as opposed to a cold lead. So we've had a lot of success with some old school stuff and also some Facebook Marketplace.
That's awesome. I love the diversity with depending on where your property is located. So that's great. Thank you. Thank you all for sharing. Like I said, you have such a diverse marketing strategies depending on your demographics and your location. So it's fascinating to see how you each have a different approach. So thank you. We'll move on to our next question. And some of you kind of touched a little bit on this, but what role do Breeze and Rent Cafe websites play in your strategies? Rosa, would you like to start?
I would definitely say it's pivotal. I really cannot envision what our marketing strategy would be like without it. And again, in the background, the support that we've received to make our vision happen is unparalleled in the industry. I've been in property management myself for a long time, and the level of expertise that Yardi Breeze offers. And even after we attract that buyer to the community, the fact that the website is also for the homeowners and they can easily interact and learn what's going on in their community. The fact is that people lead very busy lives, and our website is the number one way that we communicate with homeowners. And they have come to rely on it for that source of information to know what's going on. And again, it's been critical, key, and a very vital part of our marketing strategy.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Mandy, what about you?
Well, we are actually in process of doing our first dedicated property site for the Ohio building in Sydney through Yardi. So we actually picked one of the wonderful templates that you all had, and we've just been kind of personalizing it. Working with the team has actually been great. Our rep that we're working with, Nish, has been absolutely wonderful. He's very quick and very responsive on any of my questions, and I get some technical ones in there for him. But just letting us know, like, what we can do, what we can't do. But the ease of it for us was really the secure situation. So like when our residents are able to log in on our site through Yardi, they're going, to their portal. So they can look, they can see if, they've paid their rent, if they have any outstanding charges, if something's coming up, if there's a notice coming in for, maybe whether it's we're doing some painting or we're doing something that it's going to impact their parking situation, or there might be noise in the hallway if we're, doing a repair or anything going on. They can check all that, and it's all secure because it's all built in, and it's everything in one place, which is where we wanted. We didn't want everybody to have to go, back and forth between our website and then back to Rent Cafe to log in. So that made our decision for us actually just drive home that much further, that, do it with them because it's easy and that's what they do. I mean, you guys do this all the time. So that helps.
That's our
Yeah.
goal, to make it easy for you. And
Yeah.
whether it's during setup or after, and I'm glad you're getting that experience of having it be set up with one of our experts. And you can always ask some questions, like I said, about SEO. And I've had some AMs get on the phone with our clients to help generate these tags or whatever you need, and we're happy to help with that. So it's great. Good. Thank you. And what about you, Megan?
Yeah, so for me, when we started with Breeze, it was in 2019, and we were graduating to professional software, and that really helped us set ourselves apart. And we didn't really realize that we were putting in a foundation that was going to help us the next year. So when COVID did happen and we had to really change a lot of our practices, it made it easier because we had the capability to have an online application and go through the online application process. When we were still distancing and doing social distancing, it made it so much easier. So I could go grab a link right off of the marketing site and then put that in a QR code and then help someone self-guide through a tour. And that really made it helpful. That those have been some practices that we continue to this day. So that when we're doing self-guided tours, we are still using QR codes that bring them and drive them right back to, the application process or the website. In 2022, I was decided that we were going to go with a corporate website, and I had avoided it for a long time because I thought it was going to be a tedious process. And I'm like, gosh, when do we have time to build a site? I had built sites, or not me personally, but had worked with companies in the past, and it was a long, kind of painful process. And the Rent Cafe team really helped us out. They were like, send us these pictures, picked from this template, like Mandy said. And they also kind of helped like nicely nudge me along. So if I hadn't responded, they're like, hey, I still need you to approve this. And they really made it manageable into bite-sized pieces. So I think all in all, being able to bring that professionalism while we're still trying to run our businesses, and also bringing a higher technology to, for us, an area that didn't really exist, has really been, given us the ability to set ourselves apart, be efficient, and grow at the scale that we want to.
That's great. I'm happy to hear that you've all had a good setup, and some of you are still going through it, but are understanding how important it is to have an online presence, and even more so having everything in one spot online, having your tenants to log in and make payments, all that stuff. So it's great. Thank you for sharing. We'll move on to our last question here. What unique marketing content do you create that you find attracts more owners or residents to your communities? Megan, I'm going to kind of go back to you again.
So yeah, I believe it was mentioned, the video is king or queen. I don't think that's going to be going away in any time. And so we, again, through, in the 2020 era, we started leaning on TikTok and social media to really showcase our properties. And at that time, it was because we couldn't necessarily be there with our customer, but we still wanted them to see the insides. And, I mentioned our stuff is pre-1900s, so it's beautiful. And we really wanted to show that off to people. And that didn't really, again, change because we've had such a following and such an interest to see what does Water Street look like, what does Adams Street look like, and getting to tell that story and keep them coming back for more. We then posted our videos, our shorts on YouTube and just kind of let them live there and essentially kind of forgot about them. But we started getting some leads from that too, where people were searching for homes in the area and liked the content. So TikTok, YouTube have been still a really good source for us. To level that up a little bit further, we were able to capture some testimonials from some of our owners. One specifically from a state representative here in Michigan that we manage for, and having that on video saying that this was a game changer and helped him do what he needed to do, to lead in a member of Congress. I thought that was also very powerful for marketing to new potential owners, as we can show them that we can not only make you more money, but also give you some time and get your sleep back.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Thank you. And what about you, Mandy?
Well, we like to do things to where we make the process easy for our tenants, whether it's commercial or, residential side. We like to create user guides. I have gone and, we have a couple of units that have many splits in them, and there's a remote, and you have some people who have no idea how to function with this. So going on and finding the model, downloading the info guide for them, and then keeping those on hand. So then when new people move in, hey, we can put this in your move-in folder with your packet. You get letters of, this is what's going on in your community. Here's a community events calendar. These are different things that are happening. Here's, our email newsletter that we'll send out and let you know of upcoming things. And making their transition easy. So if they need to know like where things are, their list of the electric company, the gas company, who are the cable providers for the building, or internet providers. And then like for Sydney, for example, the building only has one internet provider. It is already ran. And so for a fee that we can tack on to your rent per month, then you can have internet already built in. Now, if you choose TV, that's great. That's on you. Still go through that company, but it's just billed out on a separate bill. So kind of give them the list of everything that they're going to need transitioning into the building, and then letting them know where functions are, whether it's a shared laundry building, an in-unit laundry building, or just kind of pointing them in the, right directions of everything. Coffee shops downstairs, it's the small little things that just help them to make their move easier. And then like commercial tenant wise, letting them know who their neighbors are in the building. Also, if there's a problem that they have, that way they can at least let somebody know. Some of our floors are locked floors too, in some of our buildings for commercial tenants, just being that they're government contractors. So got to have secure, and let them know, hey, building is secure. It's on lockdown. You can't get in unless you have a fob. So just making that nice little transitional process easy for each and every client.
Yeah, I would love that. I think you kind of go beyond advertising to your prospects and making sure the move-in process is easy to your tenants. And, hopefully when they move out, they leave a nice review or whatever it is. So that's great. I love it. Perfect. All right. And what about you, Rosa?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that we're doing anything earth-shattering from a unique perspective, but I will say this, I'm going to put a little spin on your question. I think we are doing something unique when it comes to homeowner associations and condos. Again, not much thought, unfortunately, is given to that in our industry, but it is important, again, to attract the right buyer and in essence, shape your community. What we are doing again is rather unique. I did my research when planning our own website, and I looked out there to see what other HOAs had in the way of websites, and it was, unfortunately sorely lacking. I try to look at things from a consumer perspective, again, to see through their eyes. And again, there wasn't a lot of information. So we focused on, as Mandy said, providing them with as much information beforehand. And again, lifestyles are such that people want to be able to do that from the comfort of their own home and, find out as much as they can. So not only for our prospective homeowners, but our current homeowners, providing that amount of information. And again, the way that we've set it up on our website to make it easy to find. I also found in looking at other websites that, it was impossible to get to the information that I was looking for. Not much thought was put into it. But again, when we planned our website, we really focused on that. And again, working with the team at Yardi Breeze really helped because they helped us lay it out in such a way where it was all user friendly, where someone would go in and say, okay, what's the logical next step here? Where can I find this information? So again, not necessarily unique, but I would say again, unique in our industry because again, it doesn't really happen that often, but it's just as important, if not more so, in our industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Thank you. I just want to say this was fantastic. I want to thank you all for sharing your unique marketing content you create to attract, your owners and your residents to your communities. It's inspiring to see how innovative you've all been with taking different approach and really making such a big difference in your business. Your strategies really show how much you understand your audience and kind of cater to that. And I think that's what I'm taking out of this. And there's so many different ways and approaches you've taken to it. So it's amazing. I just want to thank you again for spending time with me today and sharing your knowledge on ways to unlock growth through marketing. I appreciate it. Thank you.